Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is MOGIBETH, and for those of y'all who are new here, I own a six-figure reselling business selling primarily women's clothing on places like Poshmark and eBay. But today we are talking about kids clothing. That's right, this is the third video in a series of 3 videos. The first one I did on maternity brands, the second one I did on baby brands, and then now I am talking all about 10 kids BOLO brands to be on the lookout for as a reseller. But honestly, even if you're not a reseller and you're just a parent, these are 10 really cool kids clothing brands just to know. I'll be sure to link up those other videos on the screen or down in the description, so if you want to check those out, you can. I mentioned this in the baby BOLO brands video, but I don't specialize in selling baby or kids clothing. I don't sell a lot of it yet, but now that I am having a daughter of my own, I could definitely see that changing. So this is really based off of doing research. So I'm going to share 10 kids clothing brands that I've come across in my research. I'm going to share what the tag looks like so that you can identify it when you're out and about sourcing. I'll also share the average sales price based off of recent sold comps on Poshmark. And then I'll also just share a few notes about the brand, who the founder was, when it started, etc. So I sorted this list by average sales price. So we're going to start at number 10, which is going to have the lowest average sales price, and work our way up to number 1, which will have the highest average sales price. I will mention again that like baby clothing, it's a really great option to lot kids clothing up. So if you come across multiple pieces by one of these brands when you're sourcing, it might be a really good idea to sell them together. Not only can you sell those bundles for more, but you can also, I think, have a faster sell-through rate if you do lot those items up or bundle them together in one listing on Poshmark. And the last thing I want to mention before we jump into the list is that this is definitely not an exhaustive list. There are so many kids brands to know as a reseller. So I'm going to go over 10 of them, but if you want to share other ones that you've had experience selling or that you have found in your research down in the comments down below, that would be awesome. I think it would be helpful to everyone, including me. Okay, so let's start out with number 10 on the list, and that is Florence Eiseman. Florence Eiseman was started by Florence Eiseman in 1945, so it's actually the longest running children's fashion brand in the United States. It's definitely the oldest brand on this list. It's carried at places like Saks Fifth Avenue and Neiman Marcus. Retail for this brand starts at $70, which is pretty high for a kids clothing brand, and it has a more kind of traditional kids aesthetic with a lot of bright colors, a lot of blues, a lot of pink, a lot of yellows, stuff like that, and then a lot of gingham, stripes, etc. But the pieces that sell the very best for reselling are the formal suits, so little boys' suits, dresses, and especially dresses for Christmas time, and coats for Christmas time. They can sell actually really well for good money. The average sales price of this brand is $23.66, and lots of this brand can sell for more as well. And again, if you're used to selling women's clothing, an average sales price of like 25 bucks isn't gonna like impress you that much. But you have to remember, if you're shopping at the bins, first of all, kids clothing is very lightweight. But even at the thrift store, kids clothing is usually really cheap. So having an average sales price of around 25 to 35 bucks, I think is a really great place to start. And then if you want to make more than that, you just have to be more selective with the pieces that you're picking up, because these are of course averages. Okay, so number 9 on the list is Molo, and it was started by Mogens Jepsen in 2003, which is actually quite unique because it was just started by one single man. A lot of kids and baby clothing companies are started by women or by couples, but this single man started a kids clothing line, which is definitely unique. But it's headquartered in Copenhagen, Denmark. They started with 2 to 8 years, and then they expanded into baby, and then now they sell up to 16 years. And this is how they describe their aesthetic on their website. Molo's design feeds a child's imagination with strong colors, fun prints, exciting shapes, and bold combinations. Their graphics for their clothing are less cartoonish or hand-drawn, and they're much more realistic. Right now, for instance, they have a line about Jurassic Park, and so the dinosaurs on the garments actually look like, you know, real dinosaurs, like from the movie. They're not drawings of dinosaurs, which is actually quite different than other kids clothing brands that I've come across. But for this brand, the category that's going to do the very best is outerwear. So if you come across outerwear by Molo, I definitely recommend picking it up. But certain prints also can do really, really well by this brand. The average sales price is $25.54, but again, you can find items that will sell for more than that. Okay, number 8 on the list is a Swedish brand. There are actually quite a few European brands on this list, and it is called Mini Rodini. It was started by illustrator Cassandra Rodin in 2006. They do sell kids, adult, and baby clothes. And I mentioned that in the baby BOLO brand video, but a lot of brands on this list will also carry baby clothing and vice versa. A lot of the brands on the baby clothing brand list also sell kids clothing. But I tried to pick brands for this list that specialize in kids, and then for the baby ones that specialized in baby clothing. So Mini Rodini is actually a really fun brand. They have a lot of graphics, illustrations, prints, very bold, colorful, and hand-drawn. As opposed to Molo, this is definitely an illustrator-centric brand, and you can tell when you're looking through their clothing. But again, similar to Molo, outerwear does really, really well by this brand. But of course, there are certain pieces that are going to do really, really well as well that are just particularly sought after because of the particular illustration and so forth. The average sales price of this brand is $29.16, which is great. Almost 30 bucks for a kids clothing brand is really, really great. So I definitely wanted to include this one on the list. All right, number 7 on the list is another European brand. It is Little Creative Factory. It was started by Cristina Fernandez in 2014. It is a Barcelona-based brand. It's actually one of 2 Barcelona-based brands on this list. And my sister lives in Barcelona, so maybe I was particularly drawn to Barcelona-based brands. But they actually also have an adult clothing line called Another Archive, which I couldn't even find on Poshmark, but Little Creative Factory is definitely there. Little Creative Factory is probably the most high fashion of any of the brands on this list. I mean, honestly, it kind of looked like some of the pieces were inspired by Runway. If you go to the website, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. This is from their website. All of our production is based in Barcelona, Spain. The fabrics are all made in Europe, Spain, Portugal, Italy, France, and the UK. Our collections use 95% recycled fibers and organic cotton. They have spring-summer collections and fall-winter collections. They have campaigns for each of their collections and lookbooks for each of their collections. So they really take creating these garments seriously for kids, which I think is really unique and really cool. And I mentioned this in the Baby BOLO brands video, but something that I found is that a lot of European kids clothing brands and baby clothing brands really take a lot of care when it comes to picking out the textiles for their garments. A lot of them are made with organic fabrics, a lot of them are made with recycled fabrics, and I think for that reason a lot of American consumers are drawn to European clothing companies and are willing to pay up for them. So the average sales price for Little Creative Factory is $29.66. Okay, the next on this list is another European brand. There's a lot of them on there, I told you. And again, I think it's just because there's a higher average sales price for European brands because the American consumer is willing just to pay more for higher quality, and a lot of high quality brands are coming out of Europe. So this is called Olivier London. It was started by Emma Olivier in 2010. It's based out of London, Olivier London, and this is from their website. Continuing a long-standing family tradition of knitting and making clothes for their children, Emma took inspiration from the pieces that her grandmother had made her own mother and from vintage knitting patterns that she had collected over the years. This brand has a very specific aesthetic. It has vintage inspired florals, it has a lot of cashmere pieces and a lot of vintage inspired knitwear, very cottagecore prairie kind of aesthetic. They use Liberty fabrics, which you may have already heard of. Liberty fabrics is used also by brands like J. Crew and Doan. It's a English fabric company and they really kind of specialize in vintage inspired floral fabrics. The average sales price for Olivier London is $31.66, which is again great for a kids clothing brand. Okay, next, number 5 is Mini A Ture. 3 words, mini, A Ture, like miniature. but broken up. It was started by Signe Tholstrup in 2002 alongside her husband and 2 friends in Copenhagen, Denmark. This brand really specializes in outerwear, which tends to be the most lucrative category within kids clothing anyway. So it's going to naturally have a high ASP. But what does really well by them is their rain jackets and their snowsuits. Everything they create is produced with recycled materials, which is awesome. But they also have knitwear, which does really well too. The average sales price of this brand is $32.21, but certain outerwear pieces are going to go for the $40 to $50 range. So definitely a brand to know and to be on the lookout for. Okay, brand number 4 is the other Barcelona-based brand on the list. And I think I might have covered this in a newsletter before as well. If you haven't subscribed to a newsletter, you can do so on MOGIBETH.com. It goes out every Monday. And the brand is Bobo Choses. I think I'm pronouncing that right. That's how it's spelled. And it was started by Adriana Esperalba in 2008. This brand actually does sell baby clothing, kids clothing, and adult clothing. But I think really they're known for their kids clothing. It's definitely a really loud, fun, and whimsical brand. I really like this brand. Definitely something that I want to purchase some of for when my daughter gets older. It has lots of fun, colorful graphic prints and a lot of sweatpants and jersey type material that are all made from 100% organic cotton, which I thought was great. But yeah, I just thought this brand was so cute. The average sales price is $33.25. If you're near your laptop and you hear any of these brands that sound interesting, I would just recommend to you that you type it in and just go through their website and kind of look at their overall aesthetic, look at what kind of clothing the brand produces. It just helps you familiarize yourself with that brand if you really do want to find it when you're out and about sourcing at the bins or the thrift store or wherever you go. Okay, number 3 on this list is Noralee. This is actually Riley & Crew's sister company, and I talked about Riley & Crew in the Baby Bolo brand video. The founder of both of these brands is Kelly Murray Larson, but this brand has a very specific aesthetic. It really focuses on dresses and kind of more formal wear, I guess, with a vintage inspired aesthetic. It feels like their clothing either falls into 2 categories. It's either very prairie, cottagecore type of look, or it's the more kind of formal wear that really focuses on like tutus and vintage kind of lace or ballerina aesthetic. This is how they describe it from their website. From celebrating a special day with those you love to having a tea party in the living room, every occasion is worth celebrating. Noralee's one-of-a-kind charm is inspired by unique vintage pieces, rich in detail and romance. That was really cute brand, and my niece is really into tutus and stuff, so after researching this brand I was like, okay, if she's still into this kind of stuff, I definitely need to get her a piece for her birthday next year. So the average sales price of this brand is $44.22, which is great for kids clothing once again, but some pieces can definitely sell for more. So I would definitely say this is one to know, Noralee, and I'm hoping to come across it, so gotta be on the lookout. Okay, so we're already to number 2 on this list. And this is a French brand, and so I might butcher it, but it's Bonpoint. Bonpoint. It's one word, Bonpoint. So if I were pronouncing it in American English, it'd be Bonpoint. But we're trying to do our best. It was started by Marie-France and Bernard Cohen in 1975, so it's definitely a longer standing brand on this list. In terms of aesthetic, history, price point even, it's kind of similar to a brand that was on the Baby Bolo brand list, which was Tartine et Chocolat. That one was founded in 1977, and if you want to learn more about that, that's in that video. But this brand has a higher average sales price. It's a French brand, and they actually also have a perfume line and skincare products for children, which again must be something that's more common in France and in Europe, is to have perfume for children, because it's something that I wasn't familiar with. But this brand retails for incredibly high. They kind of start at $150 and then go all the way up to $700, so really high retail value. It also, similar to that other brand, has more of a French countryside, proper, sophisticated aesthetic that's, I think, just really unique to these brands that are started in France and have been around for a while. And the average sales price for this brand is $51.02, which is really great for a kids brand. So I would say this is definitely one to know, especially since it's been around a while. I think that increases your chance of coming across it. But I would venture to guess that, like most brands, newer pieces are going to sell the best. So, okay, that brings us to number 1 on this list, and it is Soor Ploom. It is not a European brand. It is an American-based brand. It was started by Marissa Buick in 2012, and it's based in Brooklyn. However, they do produce their clothes overseas. So here, I'll just read this from the website. Based in Brooklyn, our seasonal collection is produced in Portugal. Our knitwear collection is produced in Peru. We've sourced the finest materials and selected manufacturers that are ethical and sustainable in their practices. This brand really has a lot of muted colors, a lot of gauzy fabrics, just really beautiful silhouettes. It has a really great sold to available ratio on Poshmark. There's just simply not a lot of items available by this brand, so I think there is quite a bit of demand for this brand, and dresses and knitwear by this brand are going to do especially well. So if you come across a dress or you come across something that's knitted, definitely check comps at the very least, but potentially pick it up. Okay, so the average sales price for number 1 on this list is $57.05, which, I think I said this for everything, is great for a kids brand, but really it is. That's excellent for a women's wear brand, but especially great for a kids brand. So definitely one to know and be on the lookout for, especially if you want to sell more kids clothing. And if you want to sell more kids clothing, I hope this list was helpful. Let me know again in the comments down below which one you learned about, didn't know about, and which one you think I need to know about, you think we all need to know about if you do sell kids clothing and you have knowledge on this topic. But I hope you enjoyed and learned something. Be sure to give this video a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. I had a lot of fun putting this series together, so again, if you haven't watched the other 2, be sure to check them out. I think they'll be very helpful to y'all as resellers, because I think when it comes to maternity, baby, kids clothing, the resale market isn't super saturated. So there's a lot of opportunity to make good money in these categories. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. I will see y'all in the next one. Okay, love y'all. Bye.